So in today's video, we're going to talk about the pros and cons to sandbag training so you can work out whether it's worth adding into your workout program. Let's jump straight into the video. So let's have a look at the pros first when it comes to sandbag training. So at number one, we have full body training, and this is full body for a couple of reasons. The first one is you're able to hit every major muscle group. If you want to work your back, you can do rows. If you want to work your shoulders, you can do some overhead pressing. If you want to work your legs, you can use it for doing squats, and you can also do kind of deadlifts. And if you really want to focus on that posterior chain, you can do sort of like hip thrusts to obviously the deadlift to even good mornings if you want to target your lower back. There isn't really any muscles that are going to be missed when targeting using the sandbag. When it comes to your chest, you could lie down on the ground, do a bit of benching, but you'll find any time that you're having to hug the sandbag to you, you will be surprised how much this is going to be working your chest. And the next way where we're looking at full body is that you're able to use this in a full body motion, meaning that you're able to work multiple muscles, your whole body. A couple of movements you're able to do that. Think about grabbing it from the floor and pressing it to above your head. The other thing as well is it allows you to really target your core the way in which the core was designed, which is stabilizing our spine and transferring energy between our upper body and our lower body. Something as simple as flipping up and holding onto one shoulder, you'll be surprised how much your core has to work to stabilize your spine. So if you're looking for full body strength or a piece of equipment that allows you to work the whole body, the sandbag is a great tool to add in. So the second pro of sandbag training is it builds true functional strength. And I know the term functional gets chucked around. It's got a loose term within the fitness industry, but when I'm referring to functional strength, I'm thinking about the functional strength that allows us to carry it over to everyday life. And there are going to be situations in our everyday life where we have to pick up things. Maybe stuff like going shopping to moving house. Maybe you're in the garden and you're picking up stuff, wheelbarrows or bags of dirt, whatever it is. This is the sort of strength we're going to be using in everyday life. And something like a sandbag is a perfect tool for this. When we think about sort of general fitness equipment, we think of barbells to dumbbells to kettlebells. And these things are designed to be lifted to the way that the handle fits, to how wide the bars are, when we load them on, the even weight, as long as we pick them up properly, the evenness of us being able to pick up, because these things are designed to be lifted. When you grab something like a sandbag, it's more likely to replicate everyday living. Again, when you pick it up, it flops around, it's hard, you have to grip it. It isn't easy to hold, it can move in your hand. It can be quite hard to grip hold of. You have to use your whole body, you have to use your core to be able to keep it in tight. This kind of training or using a sandbag is more likely to build the strength, the functional strength, the stability needed, the strength needed, all of these things that you are more likely to use in everyday life. So if you're looking to build functional strength, and again, this kind of strength, because you have to use more muscles, you have to create more stability, you have to use your core, this is going to transfer into other lifts. So when you do go to your barbell training, anything like that, this true functional strength that you build with a sandbag is going to transfer over to that, but also to everyday living. So the third pro to sandbag training is that you can use it for a multitude of different goals, and it's also a fun, exciting, playful way to be able to train, which is perfect for motivation and therefore consistency. So if you're looking to get stronger or to build muscle, the sandbag is a fantastic tool. Like I stated before, you're able to do full body movements, maybe as one big movement, or you can work your body like a push, a pull, a legs, and you can target the whole body. You can use heavy movements and use a large amount of weight in the sandbag to be able to focus more on strength, or you can lighten the load a little bit and you can do a bit more higher volume and really hit those muscles to allow you to build muscle. But where it also excels is you can use it when it comes to conditioning, and a popular way of doing this is just loaded carries, maybe even bear hug carries to over the shoulder, and you can start doing movement and really build that conditioning. You can do other things like hip thrusts to either shoulder. This is a great way to get your heart rate up and really build that conditioning, full body or local if you want. Doing lunges to squats to different movements with the sandbag allows you to not only build muscle and get stronger, but really work on your conditioning and actually use it as a way of doing heart rate training. The sandbag is a fantastic tool, and because it is something that not a lot of people do, it's kind of like a new toy. And for anyone that's really into their fitness, when you get to try a new bit of equipment or anything like that, it can be a fun way to train. Not many people will be able to experiment with the sandbag and try new exercises, and challenging yourselves in a new way and seeing progression with that makes training fun again. So adding in a sandbag can be a fun, effective way of building muscle, getting stronger, and also getting fitter. I do want to talk about some of the cons that are associated with sandbag training so you guys can make the decision now, having all the information, to decide whether this is the right thing to add into your training. So let's jump straight into the cons. So the first con when it comes to sandbag training is that you don't have a fast or an easy way to change weights between exercises. So this is going to force you to either have to maybe do do straight sets, or it might make it more challenging when picking certain orders of exercises if you're going to be using this for circuit training. And the reason for that is because if you need to take weight away or add it, it's not something you can do quickly on a dime. So you can do it on straight sets, and let's say you're doing really, really heavy deadlifts, you may have to then change your weight if you want to do overhead press or maybe even rows. And obviously if you want to then do the two together, it's going to be difficult to do that because what weight you have for possibly the deadlift may be too heavy for maybe the row or maybe even a shoulder press. So that can be a little bit more difficult. One way to get around that is obviously having multiple bags, but the problem with that is that now you are increasing the money that you have to spend by having multiple bags to obviously more space that you're going to have to take up with them. So that is one con when it comes to the sandbag. I have a 80 kilo capacity bag here, and I've only half filled it, or maybe a bit over, so 40 or 50 kilos. And that's for a couple of reasons. One, I was building up to the sandbag training and using it for a while and trying to get strong and efficient with it. And for a long time, I was actually using the sandbag, not for strength training, but for conditioning training. So I needed something lighter where I was able to bang out more reps and do it within a circuit. But the great thing about that is that allows me that I now have room of maybe possibly 40 to 30 kilos that as I get stronger, I can start adding load. So that allows me to have that progressional overload there. The other thing is as well, when it's not fully filled out, it flops more. The sand moves in it, which means it's going to be harder on me to be able to hold it and balance it. In some cases, it might be a little bit more comfortable to flop over my shoulder, but that makes it more challenging for me. So whichever way that you go around it, you're going to have to be aware that that could be something that you have to factor in. And the other advice that I do give to you is that possibly if you are going to want to have that progression when it comes to the sandbag, having a bag where maybe it's 30 or 40 kilos, you might do well with it for a while, but you might quickly outdevelop it. And then you might have to then buy another bag. So my recommendation is to buy one bag that's going to be bigger than maybe what you need, and then you can add more sand to it as you get stronger. So the second con when it comes to sandbag training is this isn't the best bit of equipment if you're looking for something that you want to really isolate muscles or movements. The reason being for that is because even if you try and do it, it's still very, very difficult to isolate certain muscles, because in most cases, you are going to be really hitting your core whatever exercise you do. And obviously if you're someone that wants to do exercises where maybe there isn't a huge stress on maybe something like your lower back, this is going to be a challenge with the sandbag, because in virtually every exercise you do, your core is going to be worked heavily and your lower back gets worked a lot as well, because a lot of time you're balancing like this or it's on your shoulder. A lot of core work is going to be going. So if you want to isolate stuff like maybe like the rows or even overhead press or anything like that, or even lunges to squats, this hits your core in a really, really big way. So if you've got a fatigue there or an injury there, the sandbag isn't going to be best. Even when you're doing stuff like the bent over row, your lower back is going to be using. When you're doing something like the squats, to hold the bag here, it's really, really hitting your chest in a big way. Or even if it's up on your shoulders, you're using your arms to balance it or your core to do it, even though it might be for a squat or for a lunge. So if you're looking for more of a bodybuilding style where you really want to focus on isolating muscles, this may not be the best. This is something if you want to build full body strength, and even though you can kind of isolate certain compounds or certain movements with it, you're not going to be able to isolate in that way. You're still going to be using your full body, especially when it comes to your core. So that it potentially can be a con for some people that want more of a fine-tune or isolation to their training. So the third possible con, or in some cases could be a potential pro to sandbag training, is going to be the price. Some of the heavy-duty, high-capacity bags can be quite expensive, depending on what sort of weight that you go for. Some of them could be 50 quid to over 100 pounds. And for some people, that might be a lot of money, and that could be something that might phase you out, or you might see as a potential con into getting into sandbag training. However, if you compare the price of a sandbag and the equivalent weight to some weight plates, but even to use the weight plates, you either need a barbell or a dumbbell, the price difference I think is still in favor for the sandbag. So sand is very, very cheap. So it's price comparison there. I do think it's good value for money for what you get out of it with the sandbag. However, if you want to be able to sort of do it very, very cheaply, I have seen blogs out there on how you can do it. And in most cases, they recommend using a duffel bag, filling it with a load of sand, and then basically wrapping the thing in duct tape. You could technically make a sandbag or make this relatively cheaply. So that could technically turn that expense and sandbag training into a potential pro for anyone who wants to get into it and have fun with it. And therefore you could possibly, if you have a couple duffel bags or you get them cheap, you could therefore maybe make multiple bags, because sand in itself, relatively cheap thing to be able to buy for the weight of what you're going for. So again, how you look at it, the price could be a pro or a con depending on what your situation is or what you're going to be looking for. I will leave links to a couple of sandbags down below, so if you want to check some of them out, especially the one that I'm using, go and check them out after. I would recommend subscribing, because I am going to be doing more sandbag exercises and workouts, and I'm actually going to be talking about, for the bulk of my content is on calisthenics. Some of you may be thinking, if you do calisthenics, why are you talking about sandbag training? I will also be doing a video on the benefits of maybe doing external load training, specifically sandbag training, to calisthenics, and why you should be incorporating that. So make sure you subscribe for that. If you found the video useful, give it a thumbs up and comment down below what are your experiences. What do you think of sandbag training? Comment down below. I'd love to read that, and I'll see you guys in the next video.